going on, everyone? This is Wednesday, and we are ready for another episode of FishTalk Live. I just got some good news from Ron Demers' wife, Diane, and Ron has just got out of surgery. I'll tell you all a little bit about that a little bit later. Hey, right now is the time to share this out. I do have one public service announcement about that. There's no need to share this into Ron Cichlid's groups. We get like a ton of those every week. But we've got that covered on our end. So the shares, go ahead and share this out in other fish groups right now. Share this out in your favorite fish groups. And let's see if we can get 100 people on tonight. We got a great show tonight. It's a little thin. You're going to see a lot of Dave tonight. But I'm going to be talking about African cichlid tanks. So let's go ahead and start this up. Yeah. Hey. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 35 to Fish Talk Live. Dave Gould here. How's it going, everyone? Bring myself up. We are going to have a great episode tonight. It's kind of a one-man show tonight, as I preluded to a little bit in the opening, is that Ron just got out of surgery. So if you don't know what the story is here, Ron Demers has had 2 discs taken out of his neck, and I think they fused the 3 together. I'm not sure. We'll find out exactly. But everything went well, and he is the information I got from the doctor is that everything went as they expected. Nothing, no surprises, nothing like that. So that is super, super awesome. Like I said, it's just me tonight, but I've got a good show for you. I put together a whole step-by-step. Let's say you wanted to set up a tank. So we'll talk about tanks. We'll talk about planning. We're going to talk about everything, the light, substrate, heaters, and all that. But I'm going to do that in a really condensed fashion. So what I was thinking was, hey, I got all this great show material that my mentor, Mr. Ron Demers from Ron Cichlid's, has done for us, and why not just pull it all together? And so that there's this kind of list that you can have if you want to set up a tank and how to go about doing that. I'm like I said, I'm soloing this, so I'm kind of just bringing things up. I want to see who's on. Let's turn down. Ooh, turn this down. So I'm seeing Mr. Brent Bonstetter. How's it going, Brent? Obviously, stuff disappears. We got Jason Wagner, Greg Haste, Caitlin Douglas, Kaylee Nyberg is on there. She's helping me tonight at feeding the questions to me, so we will have question and answers. James Smith. We are building up right now, so if this is your first time on Fish Talk Live, we've created this show to kind of be like a television show for social media. We wanted to gamify it, so we've got all this cool software at the back end to give things away. As well, we have a teaching topic every week. We do live questions and answers. We show member video of the week and all that. So this is the last episode, I believe, for June. And the last 2 weeks, we've had our good friend, Mr. Chris Team from Aquadariums, and he was showing us some great stuff, so that's pretty awesome. Shout outs, Missy Straight and Tasha are online. David Vickers, hi everybody, glad you're here. One of the things that I did want to try to do over July is let's see if we can go ahead and get our numbers up. So if you haven't liked Ron on Twitter or following Ron on Twitter, let's do that. Let's follow him on Instagram. Let's just reach out. You can do it now, but you know, we got the show going right now, so you can wait until afterwards. One of the things that I have set up on here that makes this show really, really cool is that if you want information about the show, if you want information about past shows, about our sponsors, about the charitable organizations that we care about, all those things, you can type in the chat right now, live chat. You can type in star info. Now that's for our Facebook viewers. If you're viewing right now on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Periscope, you'll need to actually interact with the chat information service from Facebook. You can do that while we're live, and you can also do that while you're watching a rerun of one of our episodes. So it's kind of cool, pretty cool. I put a lot of effort into building that out, and it's really cool. When you do activate the chat bot, you're also subscribing to the FishTalk Live page. Don't worry, we don't spam people. Yes, we do send out messages, but generally in our messages that we send out, we do it to give stuff away. You know, hey, here's a chat message. Here's a secret code. Pop that in the chat. So how's everybody doing tonight? Light that chat up. Tell us what's going on. Let's hear it for Ron. Maybe I know Ron's going to be watching this episode, so let's give some good get well messages in there and things like that. I'm going to try to set something up on his page later tonight so that we can make like a big online get well card, something like that. Okay. So, like I said, we're a gamified show. What I would really like to do as well is I'd like to see more participation in other groups. We want to help you out. Hey, do you have a group that's got an event coming up? Can we shout it out for you? Can we help do that kind of stuff? So let's do that. If you are admin with another group, reach out to me or Ron or through FishTalk Live page, and let's do that. Let's go ahead and start being mutually helping each other out and doing things like that. I know like one of our good friends, Mr. Paul Weiser's got some new product that he's trying to sell and things like that. He's doing some airline and things like that. So those types of things, that's what we would like to help get the message out and do that kind of stuff. All right. So every week I have been, I'm by myself, so it feels really weird like doing a one-man show, even though I usually run and operate everything. It just like I don't have any bounce back or go-to with any other interaction. I am seeing the live chat, though, so that's awesome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you can like and subscribe to these pages, that helps us out. That gets things growing. Share these into the other groups and things like that. So every week I've been playing what I call an end cap. This is just an interesting video. So let's go ahead and check this out. I found this on somewhere and I thought it was crazy. So check this out. Dinner time. Some beautiful koi in there. All right. So that was just a little interesting video that we had there. Some koi on there and some crazy music going. Hey, we are also getting ready to do July. And in July, we're going to have a couple of interesting things. Like I said, Ron's on the down low. Ron really can't drive for a month. He's going to be wearing a neck brace. He's got a good 3 months until he heals up to get back into work. But we had this conversation, and I want to share this with y'all, is that he said he has put things into place so that the business is going to keep running. You know, they're still fulfilling fish orders. His family's got that down pat. They're still making food and all that. So don't think just because Ron's not around as much. And I actually I think this is what's going to happen is that, once he does, like say after the first week and he's laid up in bed, what's he going to be doing? Well, he's going to be on his Facebook. He's going to be social media and probably going nuts just because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that likes to sit around in bed very much. But I'm sure we're going to be seeing him. So he did want me to shout that out though, just to let everybody know, just, it's not like the business is taking a break or anything like that. He's already got that in there. So we're going to be giving some stuff away. I see we only have 42 people on right now. What we do is we have a spin to win wheel. I can show you what that looks like real quick here. So this is what our spin to win wheel looks like, and it's really cool. It's got a lot of prizes, a lot of aquarium kind of products on there. It's also got 4 large fish spots, so you can win large fish off at Ron Cichlids and things like that. So what we've been doing since the first episode is we go ahead and skip this part, and we just pick people and give them free fish. So we can still do that. I'm not too sure why it's going out like that. I think what's happening is people are thinking, oh, someone else is going to share. No, let that other person share. We're not getting as many shares as we used to. But that's how we get on there. And also, like, there's things that you can do as a viewer if you like the show, is you can write a post with your own comments about the show. Like, hey, I like this, the way this is. And sometimes a more personal approach to just sharing the same old stuff out is a little better. All right, so today and tonight, what we're going to be talking about, African cichlid tank setup. So I'm just going to run through. Like I said, it's going to be pretty quick doing that. All right, so basically, okay, let me pull up my outline and let's just dive right into it. So I know that it's kind of an interesting episode. I was thinking, well, people have already got their tanks. Most people that watch already got their tank. But I do know that there's some new people. And the reason I wanted to do this is because this hobby, and everybody I'm sure can contest to it, is that a lot of the stuff that we learn what not to do, what not to spend money on. We get all excited about having our first tanks and we buy all this stuff, and some of it is just a total waste of money. Like and the reason I was doing this episode is I was looking in my closet this weekend and at some things that I bought when I first got into fish keeping, and they may have been in the tank a month or 2 months, but I've never seen the tank since. Like just certain pieces of decor and certain wave makers and things like that just were like kind of junk. And I was just like, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and talk about setting up a African cichlid tank. And I'm going to briefly run through this. It's going to be, we're going to talk about the planning. Planning is a big part of it. You want to know about size, types, styles, and things before you go jump in and buy what you need. I'm going to talk about equipment, quick rundown, and I'm going to just assume that this is for an African cichlid tank, whether it's Victorian, Lake Tanganyika, an Mbuna tank, peacocks and haps, whatnot. I'm going to talk a little bit about chemical and food consumables. Like, really, what is it worth? What should you have around? And like I said, I tried everything, almost every Chem product. I'm Clarity, or there's so many different ones. I'm going to put some of that in my tank. Well, the long and short of it is that for certain individual things is that they did do what they were supposed to do, or seemed like they were doing what they were supposed to do. But in the long run, really, the aquarium with a good filter, with good biomedia, and it's cycled with filter floss and things like that, will keep your water clear. Some of these things are just not as necessary as we might think. I'll talk quickly about stocking, and then the last part's going to be a maintenance plan. That's always good to have. So you've got it all set up, and what do you do? So let's go ahead and dive into the planning aspect. Basically, I broke this down to 3 aspects, and that is size, type, and style. So when you're getting ready to set up an African cichlid tank, size is important. And here's why it's important, and I think everybody would agree to this, is that I think it's got to be up there around 75% of the people get a 20-gallon or a 30-gallon tank, and they look at it, they have their fish in there, and they're like, I want a 55. And then they say, well, I'm on a 60 and a 75 and a 90 and a 125 or whatnot. Here's the thing is that most seasoned aquarium owners are satisfied once they get to a certain size. And that's usually somewhere around 75 or a 125. Now, yes, it's nice to have really big, huge tanks, and, you know, some small ones placed around the house is nice too. But in general, I think most people would agree a good African cichlid tank. And one of the characteristics of an African cichlid tank is the amount of stock. These fish from Malawi like to have a lot of fish around them, overstocking and things like that. So having that right size tank first is going to kind of save you a bunch of hassle, maybe some money as well. It really doesn't matter where you get the tank. If you buy it new, obviously a lot of people like new stuff, just go right into it. Or if you buy it used, what you're going to want to look at is on used is scratches and the ability to hold water, which is really talking about the seals. So you want to look at the seals as well. Even if it holds water, the seals can still be bad. And there's nothing worse than having a great tank running and then have it start leaking because of the seals, and you have to go through that whole process of doing that out. So my recommendations for any of those lakes, Tanganyika through Malawi and Victoria, two real tank sizes, and this really depends on the space that you have in your house and things like that, is 75 and 125. Those are two very ideal tanks for particular kinds of these particular African cichlids. Part of that planning is going to be the type of which lake, that type. Do you want Malawis with peacocks and haps, or Mbuna tank? Do you want a Tanganyikan tank? Do you want a Victorian tank? Now, here's the quick, long, and short of it. And we could spend hours talking just about this. But if you go back and you look through the last 35 episodes, particularly where Ron's talking about fish and stocking fish, here's some golden rules or places to start, you're thinking. I'm holding his tank sticker here with my finger because I'm a little nervous. But here's the thing. You want to first pick the lake. And then you want to determine, do you want a species only or community tank? Now, peacocks and haps, that's a great community tank. You'll hear that, mixing a couple Mbunas in there is fine, but not necessarily what you'd want to do. My personal recommendation is either have a peacock and hap tank or an Mbuna tank. And then there are many, many species, particularly in the Lake Tanganyika versions, that really do better by themselves. Not that they can't live in another tank with other kinds of fish, but like Frontosas, Tropheus, your shell dwellers, fish like that, they enjoy the company of their own kind better. They thrive more. Their behavior comes out more, particularly like Frontosas. I've got a Frontosa with my peacock and haps. He's lived in there the whole time. But just looking in there, he's always been the oddball. He sticks by himself. And looking at other Frontosa tanks, I know that if he was around other Frontosas, he would shine, right? He would be doing what he does, right? So that's part of your planning, is picking that type. The size is going to be depend on how many fish that you want to have. And then also the style. So I'm going to break this down simply to, do you want a dark style, which is usually like a black background with black substrate? That's a beautiful African tank. You have the luxury of having multiple tanks. Having one like that is cool. Or do you want something that's kind of like what's in my background here, and that's kind of like a light tank with a black background? Now, African cichlids are so beautifully colored that black backgrounds are very suitable for African cichlids. But it really doesn't matter. And I'll talk about backgrounds, but backgrounds are basically, in my opinion, break down to three things. You have a solid color, you have it clear with no background, so you can see through the tank, or you have some sort of textured background, which is a 3D background. So that's all in your planning and when you're getting ready to do that and kind of looking into that. Bear with me just 1 second while I wet my whistle. We're going with Gatorade Fierce Cherry tonight. Thank you, Gatorade. All right, so I got some pictures to support this. The first thing you want to think about as far as equipment, I'm going to run through the equipment, is your tank and your stand. Obviously, your standard. So again, I want to concentrate on really two tank sizes, 75 gallon and 125. 75 gallons going to get you like, you can get a lot more. And again, these are starting points. Stuff that I wish people told me like all one time that I didn't have to learn like over 6 months time and spend money and go back and forth and things like that. But let's say we're going with a 75 or 125. You want a good stand. I'll show you some pictures. There's a couple of different stands. These are cheap. They're made out of metal. I think Petco or whatnot. They hold your stand. So like this. So I use this stand quite a bit. I have a 50 acrylic on one. I have a 75 gallon Mbuna on one. I have a 65 gallon mixed tank on one as well. The reason I like it is I went to Home Depot. I bought some wood, threw some quick stain on it, like some red cherry stain, and then also built one on the bottom so that I could hold a hospital tank. So you're going to want a good stand. This is what your 75 looks like. Right now, those are on sale from wherever. This is a Marineland one. Tank and stand it's like $300. But you want a good solid stand. You can also build your stands. A DIY group has great. Here's what your 125 looks like. My personal opinion, 75s and 125s, they have that low profile look, which I think makes African cichlids look great. Okay, so you can get a 90, and 90 is going to add you more like 6 inches going up. So once you pick out your tank and your stand and you have that all together, let's just run through some of the equipment that you're going to need. Of course, it's you're going to need a light. I didn't put this in the right order, that's why. You're going to need a light. There's 3 lights that I really like that that are really popular, and I'm just going to throw them out there. The first one is a Phoenix 24 planted. I have 2 of those. Those are awesome ones. They every time I go, they give me. There's your Phoenix. It's really low profile. They're extremely thin. They're probably maybe 5 or 6 credit cards thick. They're very thin. Very beautifully, the colors and the rotating. So I don't ever have to turn these lights off. I have two of these. They'll go from your oranges in the morning to bright, super bright planted, bright like 10,000 K light. Then there'll be a sunset. Then I'll go into a moonset, and it'll get really dark. So I never turn these on or off. Let me check here. Hold on, I got somebody messaging me. Okay. The other lights that I think are great are the Fluvels, the Fluval Aqua Sky. Fluval's also got a Bluetooth version of it, so you're going to need to pick up a light. Obviously, if you have a 125, a 6-foot light, if you have a 75, a 4-foot light. Every time it stops. There it goes. And then the other kind of light that I've been putting in my tanks are these submersible lights. These are kind of really cool. You can submerge them, and you get this effect at our other group here, which is Current USA. I have Current USA. Don't have the Serene yet, but that's kind of what the Serene's all about. I really like this setup. It's got that background light. You see it in the back? And it's got the light over the top, and it also comes with like these speakers. So it gives this new aquarium kind of experience. But they're really awesome looking lights. Some of the videos I've been watching and the specifications on that. So you got your tank, you got your stand. You're going to need to get some substrate. Come back here. I'm not really digging the slideshow so much, so I'm going to just bring this in. Basically for African cichlids, what I've been noticing, okay, now you can do whatever you want. If you want pebbles, if you want, your own rocks or river rocks, anything like that, they do look nice and they're great. But there's really three basic that I think most people are using, and that is aragonite sand. That's good for a buffer. So pH, obviously African cichlids need higher pH, and you'll need a buffer. So if you don't have that high pH, like I know Florida's got really high pH that are perfect for African cichlids. But like here in Alabama where I'm at, it's 7. So I've got to try to push it up towards like 8.2, and I use aragonite for that. The other one is blasting sand. I just saw a post earlier in one of the groups about blasting sand. That will give you your really dark black sand. Most African cichlids are used to playing house, digging holes in the and making little nests for their mating rituals and things like that. So sand is actually a lot better than most aquarium gravels for African cichlid. But like I said, this is up to you. But if it were myself and I was building out, it would be one of these three. And the other one is pool sand. Now, pool sand is a really clean sand that's used in pool filters. It's relatively cheap, and it's got a nice golden color usually. The only thing on the sands, if you're trying to save money, is stay away from play sand. It's way too fine. It's just ends up in your filter. It's tougher to wash. It's just I would totally stay away from play sand myself. So the next thing you're going to need is a filter. Now, if you're dealing with a 75 gallon or a 125 gallon, one of those two sizes or anywhere in between, you're most likely going to want to go with a canister filter. And especially if this is one of your first time setting up, you're going to want to go with a canister filter. For the most part, so keep in mind, we got higher stock. We got more fish in a tank than you normally would have, which means there's more waste and the nitrates do build up faster. You're going to want a good sized canister filter like the 704B, which is right here. It's got nice 4 trays in it, and you can put a lot of media into that. Here's the newest Sun. This is also getting amazing reviews. A lot of people are talking about. This is the Sun 3000, HW3000. The FX6 is kind of like an industry standard, or at least a lot of the high-end guys, they buy them. But it's it's an interesting filter. It's a little different. It's a great filter. Does what it does, but they are some of the more pricey filters. These filters by Fluval, I have 3 of these as well, and these work really, really good. They have enough room for all of it, and it's not like a top of the line filter or anything. And as far as some of the other options that are out there, but these guys never fail on me. They're like the most solid. They always seem to work and prime themselves and are going. So Fluval 406 would be good. There's probably what Ron would tell you here is that Marineland makes extremely good filters, and they're relatively cheap. And I also have one of these. So this is one of the top of the line filters made by Eheim. I can tell you this, that it is solid as well. Super easy to prime. Never had any issue with it. The flow is great. Tons and tons of media, but it is also, again, one of the more high-end $400 filters. Now, so you've got your tank, you got your stand, you got a light, you put some substrate in there, you washed the substrate and did all of that. This is what I also suggest, is like a hang on the back or a power filter, and for polishing. Okay, so fill this up with polyfill so that you don't have to open your canister so much. Okay, so that's the idea behind that. In your canister, you're gonna, and I'll talk a little bit about some media, but you're gonna need to fill that media up. You put your biosponge, you got your bio balls, you got your either matrix or lava rock or whatnot. And then usually on the top level, you use polyfill, the same stuff that they put inside of pillows or you get at craft shops. Teddy bears are stuffed with it. Now, what I found is that the polyfill needs to be changed on my systems, about once a week. Once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, depending on which tank it is. And it's a lot easier to have access to just the polyfill right away. So this is a cheap alternative. I think they're $22 or $25 for that. You can also, I don't know why it's doing this to me. I also use these. Okay, so you're going to want on the filter level some sort of wave maker to be able to produce a current and keep things going. Most all Africans are very active fish, right? They move around. They like to move around. They like to swim in the current and all of that. This is a power head by Aquinet, I think is the name of it. And it's got a couple different things. Now, I use these filters a ton of different ways. I will put the polyfill in there where that biosponge is that you're looking at. You'll also see coming out the top there, that clear tube, that is for sucking air in off the top of the surface and pushing it out there through the jet port on that power head. But what I do is I connect a air line directly to there from my air pump instead of having it done that, and it produces a really fine mist of air for oxygenating and breaking the surface of the water and all of that. That spray bar that comes off the top, I don't use that so much. I also use this with a bioreactor in my planted tank. So I have just a similar, I take the two compartments off the bottom and I run the airline into that, and then I run a 5/8 medical tubing out of the top into the bioreactor, and it pushes both oxygen, and I ran it that way as well with CO2, where I ran CO2 when I first was doing the planted that way. But these are $20 filters. I think they rate somewhere between 400 and 600 gallons per hour, but they're great, so you can either go this route, right? And I don't use any air stones at all, but I do like to have the air being pumped into the tank, and I use it through this way. So it was kind of like I could get polishing on it. I could get some really fine bubbles airline, and I can also create a wave and circulation throughout the tank. So that's pretty much it there. This is going back to the substrate. This is what I use a lot. This is carob sea aragonite. It is ideal for African cichlids with a pH stabilizing buffer at 8.2, and it's only $4.89 a pound, which puts you, and that's a 10-pound bag, puts you at 50 cents a pound. So money, when we're looking at money, so I'm just trying to read a few things that are coming my way. When we're looking at money, when you got a big tank of 125, right, and you need 100 pounds of substrate, you want to look at money. The other cool thing is this comes from Petco. I wish they were giving me a little money for doing the shout out right now, but I ordered 140 pounds of this one time, and it was $6 to ship it, and I got it in like 3 days. So it's a really good quality substrate. So let me bring myself back here and come back to my list. One of the things you'll also, so we got our tank, we got our stand, we got our substrate, we've looked at filters, we've looked at the lights. We're going to need a background, decor, and a heater. So let's talk a little bit about that. So so decor is one of the things that is the most, subjective. Okay. Really depends on what you like. But if you are out there and you're looking in YouTube and on Google Images and in Facebook groups and stuff, you'll find that in general, for most African cichlids, and particularly if we look at just like peacocks and haps and mbuna, it's usually just rocks, maybe a few plants, and I'm sorry, I'm reading other things here at the same time. So there's a myth about African cichlids that is half true. So it's 50-50 gray, okay? And that is that you can't have plants with them. That's just not true, right? I've seen them thrive in heavily planted tanks, right? The fish thrive. There's nothing problem with the fish. The plants just don't last as long and don't make it. But there are like 3 kinds of plants 5 or 6 plants, but 3 main ones that I'm going to talk about real fast that do work really well with most African cichlids. That's Anubias, Java fern, and witch gold, or something like this. I'll have to look at it when it comes across. Here's a picture of it, of those 3 plants. So there they are. They're Wingold or Will. I always forget the name of it. But you got your Anubias on the right and Java fern. So when we're talking about decor, right, and we're looking at decor, just some good solid rocks and placed in there. So we learned from Christine last week about the rule of thirds. So if we have a 75 or a 125, one of the cool thirds is by putting like 3 pieces of rock, one on the left, one on the right, and one in the middle, and then putting plants, just 2 plants, like a couple of Anubias on the ends or in the middle, and it looks awesome. You know, it really makes African cichlid tanks look awesome, that minimal look. So like I said, decor is one of those very, very subjective things. But I wish somebody would have had a conversation in that first year that I started about decor, because I tried everything. I tried so many different things. I'll even post up a picture. I love themed tanks. Okay, I just do. I'm a weirdo. I'm not one of those that's like biotope and biotope only, right? That's just not me. So I built an African cichlid 90-gallon grow out, which had a 22-inch elephant head that was 22 inches wide, right, and 11 inches deep in there. It was one of the coolest tanks I had for a while. So there's that, you know, but you can put anything you want. But if you're just building out an African tank, think of a couple of big rocks, you know, jam over to ADA Tank Supply. Check them out. They've got some great rocks. I'll pull up some more things here to show you about this. So here's what I was talking about with rule of thirds. You know, you got like 3 there, and then a couple of things in the middle. You'll see a lot of African cichlid tanks just like this, kind of. Here's another version of that. I kind of like this. I like the height differences is cool too. You can see the rule of thirds in the height, whereas the rock is about 2/3, and then there's that one little bit of that Anubias on the top. So there's that. Here's a picture of our good friend James Smith in Arkansas. His company is called ADA Tank Supply, him and Jeffrey. And these are some Japanese rocks and some holy rocks and stuff. That's what I would do. If you're going to start a new tank, reach out to him, get 3 big rocks, 3 like ornamental pieces, and then some plants that go between it. What you're also going to need, moving on, this is part of other equipment, is you will need an air pump. My thought on the air pump is, and this is for all of it, air pumps, the lights, the tanks, you're going to upgrade, you know, and so buy the best one or the highest capacity that you can afford. Don't buy a Whisper 40 or 20 or 60 or anything like that. Just buy the biggest one you can. You're going to use it. You're going to branch off. You're going to T-line it and do all this different stuff. So that, you know, the air pumps they're pretty much all the same in my opinion. There's some high-end ones for running like 100 tanks and things like that, and they're great. Yeah, and they're probably worth $200. But for $25, I run almost all my tanks on 3 of these. So, now you're going to need a heater. So we talked about light, we talked about tank. You got your stand, you got the substrate in there. You figured out some decor. What we haven't talked about yet is we got the heater and the background. I'll talk a little bit about the background. So, you know, with a heater, what you're looking for is reliability, something that is proven in the community or in the commercial community that it's just not going to die, because that, especially for you all that live in the north and you get really cold, is like you don't want to have that happen. I do know that the Aqueons that I've had are absolutely solid. I've had heaters die. I bought some heaters I thought were great. Titanium, 300 watt, only $25, blah, blah, blah. They work great for 3 months. And then you're cleaning the tank out, your hands in there, and and you're like, wow, this seems awfully cold. You know, Aqueon, I have some of these, and I know that they work. Now, here is our friend Duncan at Higger. He turned me on to this. This is well, I'm going to say it anyway. This is a badass heater right here. It comes with that kind of Inkbird temperature controller, as you can see, and a titanium 200 watt heater. Now, I originally thought the 200 watt was not going to be enough. And I'm kind of going by the other 200 watts that I had, right? You know, like this guy, if I don't shut it off and I do a water change, it will burn the rubber. These are rubber things that holds on here. I've already burn it off in like a matter of instants. You know, you're smelling rubber and you're like, what's this all about? Oh, I forgot to turn the heater off. But this one by Higger is $59. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just saying that this is an awesome heater. Another one that's really awesome that Ron uses is the Finex HPG series. These are solid heaters. So if you're looking for a solid heater, and they come in different sizes, they're great heaters. I also have an Eheim. That's the first. I mean, it came with my first tank, a glass one, 300 watt. Great heater. It's always working. It's still working, and all that. I don't have any issues with it. I think it looks fine in the tank. Although I've been digging this more black stuff in the tank lately. My only concern is sometimes I feel like I'm going to break it by accident, you know, lifting rocks out or something like that. Every time the glass will tap on the glass of the aquarium, I'm always like cringe, you know. But Eheim makes great heaters as well. Some of the other equipment that you're going to want to have as part of your maintenance plan, and we'll get to that, is this is probably one of the most valuable pieces of equipment that you'll use every single week. You know, and that is a Python water change or any kind of water change. If you don't have this, or you can't afford the $40 on this, definitely buy yourself a gravel vac that's got the suction bulb, so you can go right from suction bulb into a 5-gallon tank. You're going to need that. It's just a lot easier. But I'll tell you what, it's the best $40 I ever spent, and I've spent, you know, another $25 getting extension lines and things like that. Other pieces of other equipment that you can get are things like submersible pumps that pump like, you know, 1,300 gallons hour. Those are really good. They're like 4 times faster for emptying the tank than a Python, and it doesn't use any water like Python kind of uses water. You don't need the Python to use water. You can start the suction, but it all depends on how you like to do it. I have 7 tanks, and when it's water change time, I just want to be done with it. I don't have time to wait for gravity to do its business, you know, so the faster I can change water, the better. Let's see, what did I miss in there? So we haven't talked about the background, and I talked a little bit about it. You're going to need a background. It's part of the planning of it. Let's see. 2 of my tanks are painted on the back. 2 are clear on the back. And 1 has a vinyl. The vinyl is the stuff that sticks on the back there. Those are cool, and those have some really cool designs. You can spend a lot of money for them. The coolest, though, okay, so you know at the strip mall, the shops and commercial buildings, they have vinyl in their windows. The coolest is print your own. You know, make your own design. Go find some stuff. I know that when I recycled this 90 and I put the 240 in, I'm going to find my own background, you know, and create some sort of really cool depth background for it and just print it. The glue is on the inside, and you peel the paper off and you just stick it to the back of your tank. And so that's a cool DIY. And then obviously sometimes there's just, no need for a background. So let's see. We've got your tank and your stand. We talked about how your size is going to be on that. We talked about substrate, the different kinds of sands with the Argonite. Decor. I missed one thing on decor, and that is driftwood looks really nice. A large piece of driftwood also looks nice. Again, just keep in mind that lowers the pH for the water. We talked about having an air pump, filters. some sort of wave maker. Doesn't have to be that power head kind of filter that I was talking about, although that made more sense to me to have a piece of equipment in there that was doing 3 things rather than just one thing. We talked about the heater. The other things you're going to need when you start setting up on the maintenance is you're going to need some nets, So buy larger nets. It's so much easier to catch your fish. So buy the 8 or 10 inch nets. They even have red nets. The red nets actually do work. They say that fish don't see red as well. So one of the other things that you're going to want to keep in consideration when you're setting up your tank is your electrical hookup. So power strips, extension cords, and all of that fall into that category. I think in my slider, bring that back up. Here's one that I use. This is one of my hacks that I always love sharing with people. Look what I'm doing. This is a smart strip. Each one of the power connectors is independent, and you can use an app to turn them on and off. You can also use scheduling for that as well. Mine is really smart. Let me show you this. Mine's really smart in the sense that I can tell it and say, use my location, my GPS location, access Google, look up the sunrise time, and turn my light on by that. And then look at the sunset time and turn my light off. So one of my tanks that has this hooked up to it, the light comes on when the sun comes up, the light goes off when the sun goes down. I also have used one of the plugs on the air and the wave maker, the airline and the wave maker. They're hooked up to one plug. And what I do there is, rather than having my electrical bill be what it is, I know that it's not very much. We're talking 7 watts on the wave maker, and I think the air pump is like the same, 6 watts or something like that. But what I do is I set it on a schedule that rotates. So I have it come on for an hour, and then it's off for 2 hours, on for an hour, off for 2 hours, on for an hour. And I think it's opposite. That's the nighttime schedule. During the day, it's on 2 hours and off 1 hour. Now, over time, looking at my electrical bill, I should see some savings, maybe $10, $15 a year, maybe for that. But it's still another cool mode to do on there. You can also have it come on by accessing Google. Again, use the location. What's the temperature? So if you need a chiller, if you have an outdoor, if this is going to be on outdoors and you need to have a chiller or something like that, it can look at the temperature and turn something on or off by the temperature from the internet. So that's that. Here, really weird because I don't get to experience you guys as much as I do when Ron's here. I'm looking down and I'm seeing people and they're interacting, and it feels like we're all together. When I'm doing this, I feel like I'm all alone in my house talking to myself. Let's look here. Let's see here. Okay, so I guess the only thing I didn't talk about is the filter media. Usually some of those, like the Suns, both those Suns I showed you, come with filter media. I think also the FX6 and the Fluval 406 comes with some sort of media. And again, it's all about, like, some people like hot dogs, some people like hamburgers. It's like, what do you like? But I wish somebody had this conversation with me before I started and wasted like hundreds of dollars, $400 or $500 at least, on some stuff that I'm like, this, a year later, I'm like, this shit sucks. I need something better. Filter medias, and Ron would attest to this. Some of the best are Matrix, Lava Rock, K1, Bio Balls. Also, having a good solid bio sponge on the bottom is great. And then also buy yourself that, I forget what it is, 3 cubic feet for $16 of filter floss. Filter floss is your friend. Not only does it polish the water really awesome, but it also helps you seed new tanks. So that's the equipment aspect of building African cichlid tank. I just ran down it all. If I did it too fast, go through and watch that, and then you can correlate this with some of the past episodes as well. The other things that you're going to need for your setup when you're doing it right then are some chemicals, food, and consumables. Some of the chemicals that you're going to need is you absolutely need a dechlorinator. I used Safe probably for the first 18 months that I was in fish keeping. I wasn't that active in the community. I was just running my little fish tanks, right? Safe, Seachem Safe is your best alternative. It's $32 for 2 pounds of it, and it will last you for more than a year. Where I was paying $14-15 for a bottle of Safe every 3 months or so. So anyway, you're going to need that. When you're first starting up, if this is a brand new tank that you're starting, you're going to have some sort of bioenhancer and follow it. And I've tried, I think, 5 different bioenhancers when I was starting different tanks. APIs, Stress Zyme, Fluval Cycle is the name. And then Microlift has got a 2-part. Both of them do work. You have to follow the instructions, which is usually adding this at different proportions over 7 to 10 to 14 days to get that cycle kicked in. We've learned from Ron in the past that our best way to get cycle is to use somebody else's media. So if you have a friend that has one and you don't have any access to that, you can break media down by about half. The old tank will reestablish itself again. It will, really quickly over the next 5 days or so. And it gives you a 5-day jump. You've got some established media already. That's your best approach. But if you're starting from scratch, just look up different YouTube videos. Watch some of the episodes that we had about cycling and all that. But those 3 chemicals, those 3 additives, bioenhancers, Stress Zyme by API, Fluval Cycle, Microlift, I do know that they do have benefits. We talked about the chlorinator. And then water chemical treatments. This is, again, it all depends on what you sit with. I use Purigen in all my tanks. I think Purigen has value. I love it. I don't mind recharging it. And doing all of that. So it adds that extra bump, right? It's like the filter floss does really well, but you'll know what I mean if you start using it. You'll see it. You'll do a water change in the filter floss. Let's say you pulled out your Purigen and doing a recharge. Well, you're looking at it and you're like, that's clear. Then you put the Purigen in and you come back like 6 hours later and you're like, holy shit, I didn't think it could get clearer. Right? I've had that happen to me twice where I'm just like, holy crap. So I do know it's there. And then carbon. Now, carbon works. Carbon is awesome, but carbon is expensive. It's not that expensive, but in the fact that you have to throw some of it away every 2 to 3 weeks, it only lasts for a certain period of time, then it becomes ineffective and you got to put more carbon in. But that's something for you. It all depends on really the best thing that carbon is used for is it will remove the smell, that kind of earthy, pondy smell your living room will get from your tank. You put carbon in there and it will remove the smell. So as far as chemicals, foods, consumables, the things you're going to want to have when you're building an African cichlid tank, you want some sort of stress coat or methylene blue, something like that, so that when you are doing things, you want to have that around. So when you're moving fish around, or if you're bringing new fish in, or if you have a quarantine setup, that you're going to want to do that as well. You're going to want to have these 3 meds on stock. There's tons of different things, but having these so that you can nip something in the butt immediately is important. So and I talked with Ron about this, in General Cure, Metroplex, Canaplex, have those things on hand because your fish are going to get sick at some point. They are going to develop. It's usually a bacterial disease. Everybody jumps on, oh, it's a parasite. Well, yeah, there's a lot of parasites out there and there's different kinds of things, but usually our fish are succumbing to bacteria problems that are either coming through the community water from our towns or from fish, or just getting sick, even from us. They'll pick up bacteria from us. If you go in and, to the bathroom, use the bathroom, you don't wash your hands and you go stick your hands in your fish tank will pick up that fecal matter or that urine or whatever. I don't mean to get gross on y'all, but it can happen. You can kill your fish from your own bacteria. So Washing your hands before putting your hands in your tank is a good idea, and general hygiene is good too. As far as food, you're going to want to have this when you start your first African cichlid tank. You're going to want a staple, okay? Your staple can be anything. There's a lot of great foods out there. As you know, this show is Ron Demers and Ron Cichlid show. He creates his own food, so we're all very big fans of Ron Cichlid food. But you want that staple, what you feed them every day. Depending on how many fish is how much you're going to feed them and what's your frequency on feeding them and all that. But have your staple, have an alternative as well. So, whether that's some sort of like bug bites or different style of food that you can switch up every 3 days or so, give them something. It's not necessary, but it's, these are your animals, these are your pets, and you want them to be happy. So there's that. You're going to want to feed your fish your African cichlids veggies as well, whether that's cucumbers or zucchinis. One of my favorites for the Mbuna that I have is watermelon. I just got done doing watermelon in all these tanks, and they just absolutely go nuts. And then some sort of treat. And those treats can be in the form of frozen food, which is brine shrimp cubes or Mises shrimp or krill. There's a lot of different treats that you can give your fish once a week. So that is it as far as the chemicals, food, and consumables. So we're pretty much getting really close to being done. I appreciate everybody holding out and staying this long and doing all of this. Let's talk about, okay, so we got a tank, we got the stand, we got our light, we got, some people like canopies. I didn't talk about canopies. Obviously, if you're going to get that, you're going to get it all in one, tank, stand, and canopy. We talked about the equipment and the other equipment and the consumables and all that. Let's talk about stocking, okay? We're talking about African cichlids. How many? If you have a 75-gallon, you can probably get, and if you're going with the larger fish, and what I mean by the larger fish are your haps. If you're going with some of these haps, they get rather large. Mbuna and peacocks generally get around 5-6 inches is generally where they stay. Your OB peacocks they're hybrid, so they can get pretty big too sometimes. Some of them, but for the most part, most of them stay in that 6-inch range. So, how many? Let's say we're going with the 75. I would say you can get 20. Haps and peacocks would look great in there and give enough room for them to grow into the size that you want them to go. If you're doing Mbuna, 30. They don't get as big. You can get big Mbunas, but maybe 30. Okay. If you're doing Victorians are very much, they're mostly haps. Victorians, there's other variations and all that, but you can think of it along the way that you're thinking of haps and things like that. So about 20, 25 into 75. A little bit more on the 125. I've seen people with 30 to 40 fish in there, but 25 or so. The thing about it is this: don't overcrowd when they're small. You got two ways you can do this. You can buy juvies and let them grow out. Now, for Mbuna, I think that's great. I like watching Mbuna grow out. They seem to have most of their colors generally they color faster, in my opinion. But here's the weight of it. Do you want to buy let's talk about peacocks and haps. Do you want to buy a peacock and hap that you've got all this time that you've got to keep it alive, and then you got to feed it, and it's the risk that it might get sick or something? Or do you want to buy a 5-inch beautiful one that's already showing and just doing its stuff? That's really the price difference between a $15 fish and a $35, $45 fish, is that I personally like to buy large, extra large haps and peacocks. The whole grow out phase for haps and peacocks is not something that I'm highly interested in. So I don't mind, spending the extra money and doing it that way. That's how I would do it. On the Tanganyikans, it all depends. And it really depends on if you are going with the community or if you're going with species only. Many Tanganyikans look best if they're in species or just a couple species, like Tropheus with Uh, the name totally skipped my brain. The only thing that was going through my head is La Lupi, but it wasn't. That's not the one I was thinking of. With that, you're going to want to keep them in that standardized kind of ratio, which is like 1 male, 4 females, things like that. I personally have done community with some Tanganyikans, and I'm not too sold on that. It's not a bad thing. The fish live and they look good and they color and everything, but I'd really like to see what an all tropheus tank looks like, on a day-to-day basis. I can get the videos and download stuff and look at other people's fish, but I want to experience 40 little trophiuses running around, that kind of thing. Same with frontosa and all that. This is an addiction, isn't it, everybody? Anyhow, the thing to do is to look at a lot of tanks and figure that out first rather than experimenting. Because what you end up doing is, and it's a lot like cooking. Here's a good analogy. You can have a super awesome tomato soup that has just the right amount of garlic and just the right amount of basil in it, and it's perfect, right? And then you start adding things like potatoes and corn to it, and it just kind of turns into this green mush, right? Well, that's a lot like experimenting with, particularly like Tanganyikas and stuff like that. Hopefully that makes some sense, but just look around, ask questions, follow that rule of thumb. If you are doing a community tank, some of the other considerations with Africans are like West African or river fish, and those include jewels, and there's several other river fish, elephant nose. There's some really cool fish. The Madagascars, your bleakeries and things like that, they look really cool. Bleakeries do really well in peacock and hap tanks, things like that. No matter what stocking you're going with, get yourself some plecos and some catfish. Okay, at least 2 of each. They look great in the tank. They help with a little bit of cleanup. They're not going around eating all that extra waste, but they will get that food that will create higher nitrates that locks underneath rocks and stuff. Your clown pleco, not pleco, but loaches. This is what I keep thinking. Get a couple loaches and a couple of catfish, maybe even a pleco or 2. But loaches are gonna they sniff out the food of all the cracks and crevices. Trust me. Same with the catfish, some Sedana's catfish, and they're also African and they look good in the tank, and it just gives it another level of variety in there. Stocking as far as plants go, Java fern and Anubias are great plants for Africans. They handle the higher pH really well. They don't melt, so that's kind of a problem with plants, and we can bring Christine back on that. But plants that are basically terrestrial, that live on the sides of rivers, that can handle being underwater, but prefer the air every so often. When you keep them fully submerged, which a lot of aquatic and aquarium plants are, they have this thing called melt, where over 2 or 3 months they just kind of melt. So rather than wasting your time on that, I personally am not that great of a plant person, although I do have some cool tanks. But what I do is I buy a $12 plant and it lasts me 3-4 months, and it starts fading away. I just pull it out and buy another one. Keep that tank looking good. We've talked about some of the planning and the equipment, the chemical, food, and consumables. Now we just talked a little bit about stocking. Again, go back to some of these older Fish Talk lives to get more information about particular fish. Just wanted to throw that out, put this all in one package for people. Last one is have a maintenance plan. Maintenance plan is nothing super tough. Just your water changes. How much water are you going to do and how many times a week? With my 90 and 75, the other 70 or the 65, I do those 2 times a week, and I take out 75% of the water. This is highly overstocked, so I get really high nitrates. And so I just do more water changes, and that's fine. So have that. Also, you're going to want to test that was what I forgot with the chemicals and consumables. Don't forget to get yourself an API test kit. when you're first starting a tank, you're going to use that test kit a lot because you got to know if you're cycled or not. The way you know if you're cycled is if you start with some ammonia, you start seeing nitrate. Once that you start seeing, ammonia and the nitrite, once you start seeing the nitrate, you know that the cycle's kicking in, that the nitrate is being consumed by that beneficial bacteria and it's producing nitrates. So make sure you have that API test kit, and that's part of your maintenance schedule. You're going to want to test your water if this is your very first tank. Another thing nobody told me right away was test that water and know what your water is to start with, because a lot of city water companies have higher ammonia and will have nitrates in it and things like that. So test that. And then once you are into it, and it's your 6 months into it, test every 3 months is about what I do. I test my tap water every 3 months just to make sure there's no changes. Because your water, unless you're coming out of a well or you're running RO or something like that, if you're relying on civic water systems, the parameters will change because they throw stuff in it all the time to flush out the different parts of the water system and things like that. So you do have to monitor that. That's really it as far as your maintenance schedule. But I wanted to put it on there as far as setting up with the tank, because planning is super important, that first part and this last part of, committing to a maintenance schedule. And at first, here's what I found is at first you're probably all gung-ho and it's a lot easier to do the water changes and all that. But what happens is, you kind of get laxed on it, but just having that. That is my spiel for you all tonight. We are going to have call-ins. If you all want to call in, you're welcome to call in. I'll show you what that number is. Sometimes we reward people for calling in. Gotta start this up. We're going to take some live questions and answers. I'm going to take a break right now. I need to run into the other room and do what I need to do. Let's see, start with video. Okay. That's running. So let's go. Here's the calling graphic. You can write that down, or you can hit Star Info. And Star Info has a one touch. If you're on mobile, it says, hey, you want to call on the show? You click this, click that, and there you go. Yeah. So that's our calling graphic. You can either write that down or use the chat bot to do that. Crazy how that sounded that. Yeah, you can also reach Tank Boss if you want to be a contestant. I urge everybody to do it. You don't have to worry about your knowledge level, things like that. It's going to be relatively easy because we're going to want a lot of people to be in there. But obviously, once you get in higher levels, things will get a little bit more complicated. Acrylic Habitats is one of the sponsors of this show. They are formerly known as Windrider Creations. They build sumps and wet dries, aquariums, bird enclosures for reptiles, different kinds of acrylic enclosures. They're really, really kind of cool, super awesome. I spent some time with them and took some pictures of their products. We're working on their website right now. They are a sponsor of FishTalk Live. Here's some of their aquariums. Acrylic aquariums are really cool. They're very clear, crystal clear, and they look really awesome. But we thank them for being a sponsor of FishTalk Live.
What's up, everybody? here from Stu Fish, and I'm here to let you know that I've been getting awesome fish and awesome advice from Ron for years. And thanks to his Cichlid clubhouse, I had a chance to win these awesome guys in the raffle last week. Keep up the good work, Ron. Thanks, bud.
First part of July, I have a new show. I know it's not so much for fish keeping, but it's going to be actually a really awesome show. It's with a friend of mine named Dave Albin. He is one of the recognized international leaders in firewalking. Most dynamic guy I know in the whole world. He's just super awesome. And we're going to be talking about CBD. We're going to be talking about hemp and cannabis and different things. And we also have some business opportunities along those lines. So if you have a moment on Sunday, it's 11 a.m. on Sunday starting July 7th. You might want to check that show out. Come visit us at cbd-live.tv. All right, so we're back. I'm going to answer some questions here. Bear with me on these last bit of these processes because I've got to look around and do a lot of this stuff. So let me go ahead and Kaylee, thank you so much tonight for pushing the questions in, and thanks Greg as well. Okay, so let's go here. First thing is from Matt Gin and Whiskey, as we call them, but Gingerlisky. How many tanks do I have? I mentioned that I have 7 right now. I'm actually trying to downgrade because I'm it's really weird. I'm downgrading so that I can upgrade. I'm trying to get rid of some of these other tanks and moving some of those stocks around and things like that. What do the Serenes go for from Matt Smith? Those I think are around 200. It depends on the size, obviously. I think they go between 2 something and 340 or something for the 6 foot. What about crushed coral for buffering? Absolutely, crushed coral is super, super awesome. That I would put in my filter, so I would use that for both biomedia and for the buffering. Jason Wagner, he's asking, can you show us the wave maker you mentioned in action? Okay, I will take a picture of the video for that. I have a couple, so I'll show you the one that I use for the polishing, and then I'll show you the one I use for the reactor. How do I keep plants in place from Matt Gin and Gingerlisky? I'll use thread and I'll tie them to rocks. You can also use glue. There's some glues, super glue, or hot glue. You can hot glue part of the stem to a rock, and that will keep them in place. Steve Stukowski, I hope I got that right. Stukowski. Okay, so I'd have to look this up. I can't answer your question directly. Does anyone know how many Madagascars you can stock together, just a pair or a group? I'd have to look it up. I do know that the local fish store that I purchased one before had tons of them in a tank, the bleakeries. But there's a lot of aggression in that tank. So when I was looking at it, there was a whole group that were in the corners and on the bottom corners that were like, I want nothing to do with this tank. Get me out of here. This sucks. Then there were like 2 groups of fighting Madagascar that were dominating each other, whatever, showing their aggression. They can be pretty aggressive, and depending on their size and all that. So I'd have to look it up. We can look those things up for you. Wesley Ralston says, I have a question if you can get to it. Appreciate your questions, Wesley. I'm wanting to start a breeder show tank. A 125 breeder. How many of the same species males can I put together? Definitely gonna keep with a stock with high with the females. Now, I'd have to defer this to Ron. To me, right off the bat, it seems like that's not something I would attempt to do. They seem like they're polar opposites. You either want to breed or you want to have a show tank, one of the two, not a breed or show tank. Personal thing there, because I think you would, especially if you're on 125, so to get enough animals in there to make it look like it's a cool tank, right? Yeah. I don't know. Some of you experts and some of the veterans here, can you go ahead and chime in on this with Wesley and let them know? If many of you know me, I'm not a breeder. I don't really have that kind of desire to breed or anything like that. So Brent Bonstetter says, okay, so I'm trying to set up a 45 and a 125. Do I need to just run my 125 on sump, or should I cap it, and what size canister should I run? Running a 125 on a sump is actually, in a lot of people's eyes, an ideal situation. Sumps are a lot easier to deal with than canisters that you have open access. You open the doors, you just stick your pipe in there, your water changing hose in there, things like that. Since it's already plumbed, you can plumb it for water changes. Do additives right in there. Sumps, when I get my larger tank, it's going to have a sump, and I'm going to go away from filters. Yeah, that's really up to you. But if you were to get a canister for a 125, a FX6 is actually a good one. Or if you got two, if you're going heavily stocked like show tank, if you had two HW30,000s or two 704Bs run really well, that you can get two filters for the same price of the FX6. So something I would consider. I don't think I have anybody that's called in. So again, this is the second week in a row I'm not going to be able to give $10,000 cash away. So let me move on to. And if you think I'm serious, yeah. Oh, there's a caller. Well, I wasn't serious about it anyway. Let's see. Caller, welcome to Fish Talk Live. You're on live right now. I'm going to unmute you. Ooh, that's so loud in my head. Hey, caller, where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, what's going on? Who is this?
This is Wesley.
Hey, Wesley. Thanks for calling in.
What's up, brother?
Hey. Where are you calling from?
Moore, Oklahoma.
Oh, awesome. So what can I do for you today, Wesley?
Okay, I kind of was wanting to start up another tank. Well, it's an existing tank, but I'm wanting to make a show breeder tank. I haven't seen anything out there like it yet. I guess my question is, how many males can I keep together without creating too much violence in a 125?
It depends on the species. You're talking about peacocks and haps?
Yeah. I think I'm leaning more towards peacocks my first round.
Yeah. I would imagine I would try the peacocks and haps if you want to go that route. They're some of the most beautiful fish out there are haplochromous fish. They're just amazing. The color variations that you can get. Just don't jump into too many predator haps and your Malawi hawks.
Well, I'm looking more of a species specific.
Oh, okay.
Tank,
Oh, okay. So for a 125, I think 25 fish is probably a good number, and you figure out if you can add some or not from that point, depending on your bio load and how your tank setup.
Right. I was just worried about having too many of the same males together, if they're going to start turning on the males, or if just all the aggression, if there is any, is just moved towards females only.
Well, okay, so if you have males and females in there together, then the males will be more aggressive because they're going to want to get it on with the girls, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I think the rule of thumb there is 1 with 4 to 6 girls each. So, but I don't know how many of those groups. So that's a group, right? I'm not sure how many groups that you'd want to put together in a 125. Certainly, certainly some of the veterans that are in our groups can help with that as well. And then I'll ask Ron as well. We always get this information back to you. Appreciate you.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so you want to spin the wheel?
Yeah, how do I go about doing that?
All right. Hey, all I have to do is click a few buttons and be a master scientist here. All right, I'll make this happen for you. So let's let you spin the wheel tonight. All right, everybody. I just wanted to show everybody as well that, hey, one of the best things about this show is calling in, and I like to reward people that call in. So let me go ahead and pull up the wheel. So I just pulled it up. This is what we do. You tell me a color. Can you see the wheel in front of you, or have you ever seen it before?
Yeah, I'm just now looking at this.
Yeah.
Live stream.
All right, so you tell me a color and what position it's in by using like the clock. So you see there's a red on there at 1 and there's a red at 7. So you tell me which one, and then you tell me where you want me to spin it to on the clock. And then we run it for you, bro.
Okay, so just pick a color?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Red?
All right, so which one, the top or the bottom one?
I'll go with the bottom one.
Okay, and then tell me where you want to put that, what number on the clock you want that at.
6 o'clock.
Okay, so I'll go all the way around, and there is red at 6 o'clock. Good luck. And here's for all the money in the world. Okay, so this, what you won is the LTW Home Fish Pong Foam Filter Sponge Set. This is really cool. They're like 12 by 18 inch sponges that you can cut to size, and there's different densities. These are bio sponges that you can put in your filters, which seems like a really cool thing since you're starting up a new tank. It's a good prize. But anyway, we'll send that out to you. You have to go through FishTalk Live. So if you go to FishTalk Live and you hit the menu from Messenger, there's a claim a prize. I'll send you a URL as well. Okay. Make sure you comment something in the chat as well, so that I can find you again, your last name. All right.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah. All right, Wes. It's
Thank
Wes.
you very much. You guys are awesome.
I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for calling in. We'll see you later. All right. So there we go. That's how I roll. All right. So let's come back here and look and see what's going on here. Let's come back to the chat. There we go. All right. So let's see if there's any other questions. Okay. So like I say, every week, we're not teaching a doctoral. You're not going to be a doctor of aquariums by watching Fish Talk Live. What we're trying to do is stimulate these different areas and topics that we can stimulate conversations in, like the Ron Demers Cichlid Clubhouse and other fish groups on Facebook and all that. So, and now that we've got 35 episodes, we got 35 different topics that we can go back to and get information on as well. Mindy Pulse is asking, she's saying that she's going to start up a 75-gallon tank. How many Mbuna cichlids can you have in it? I'll take a picture of, I'll do a video and I'll post it and tag you, Mindy. I have a lot. I have like more than you'd think. And they're all different sizes. They're all from about, I haven't added any in quite a while, but I added some 1.5 inches in there. They're about 2.5 inches now. And I have some big Mbuna in there, and I do have to move them around and get all crazy. I'm going to say 40. I have 40 in that 75-gallon, which is, it seems like a lot, but it's actually kind of perfect with Mbuna, that their behavior, and someone's always off guard. But I've had it running like that now for about 6 months in that configuration, and 2 of them have been beat to hell, were murdered. So an albino zebra and some of the yellow labs. So anyway, but it's funny, the tank bosses are like on a rotating schedule. Like, okay, I'm going to kick everyone's butt this month, and then it's the white top hares next month, then the Aurora, so it's not like it hasn't been one tank boss through the whole time. They kind of take turns. It's really weird, but that's that. Let's see if there's any more questions. Missy Straight. What's up, Missy? She wants to know about Java Fern and Anubias. What's the other plant? I'd have to go post that. Best thing is if you just go ahead and search plants that go well with African cichlids. The one I use is Windrup. I brutalized the name of that plant. Oh gosh, it was like Windrup. I don't even want to try to say it anymore. Yeah, I'll send that to you when I find it. I have it on a picture of my last one. Let's see what else people are saying. Okay, so Brody Lundgren wants to know, I have 40 Mbuna and a 75 with which filter configurations. I have two 704Bs on that. And I also had a Fluval 405 when I started it up that I wanted to keep alive. So I just was running it. It didn't need it, but the filters that I have for two 704Bs. I also have two 4-inch biosponges in there. Yeah, that's it. Yep, on the 75 for the Mbuna. You guys have seen my Mbuna tank in the clubhouse and on the Mbuna hangout. But I'll post it up again. There's a lot of cool fish. I finally got, I'm really happy with that one. The last thing I added, when I was at Ron's, I said, give me this. I picked up 6 little yellow labs. I wanted more dots of yellow in there. So I put 6 yellow labs in there. All right, so let me see here. I think we should probably check out the member video of the week. I really appreciate this tank. This is Larry Cook. Awesome tank. The fish look great. Now, this is a great example of a peacock and haps tank that has, looks like one Mbuna in there. He's got a nice 3D background in there by looking at. Yeah, so he likes his color, and so he threw some artificial plants in there. I don't think it looks bad. He's got that salt and pepper sand in there, 3D background, some great looking fish in there. That buco, it's got nice color right there in front of us, and rostratus, and yeah, the OB. And that looks like a little buco as well. But thank you so much for sending that in, Larry. Let's go ahead and take a look at, Ron Cichlid's, like I mentioned earlier, is a social platform. You'll find Ron on Twitter at RonDemers6 and on Instagram at Rons_Cichlids.
Hey guys, my name's TJ. I'm the admin for Ron Cichlid's Clubhouse page. Also, I run a small group, which is the Aquarist Marketplace. Awesome group. I encourage everyone to join. If you're looking to buy, sell, trade, fish, equipment, aquariums, whatever, that's the place for you. Also, breeders, you're encouraged, more than welcome to join as well. Post up your stock list, what you got, take some pictures of your show fish, advertise your groups. There is no limit, guys. This is the place. If you're looking for something rare, this is the place to go find it. Looking forward to having you guys there soon.
Yeah. Y'all know what that sound means. So, one of the coolest things about Fish Talk Live is that we are the only show on Fish Keeping Facebook that's got the spin to win wheel. Some great prizes on there. Some opportunities to win fish of your choice off of Ron Cichlids. We pick winners by various different ways. So let me go ahead and do something here. Let that play. Let you guys I'm a big Chili Peppers fan, so I've just got to change our hashtag. So I'm not sure what our hashtag will be today. How about hashtag Get Well Ron? Okay. While I play this next song, you have the opportunity to enter the spin to win. You see it right there. It says Get Well Ron, all one word. Make sure you have the hashtag in front of there. Hashtag Get Well Ron. Hashtag Get Well Ron. Hashtag, which is the pound symbol. You can see it there. Just copy what people are doing there in the chat. Get Well Ron. Hashtag Get Well Ron. Put it in the chat right now. This is a live chat giveaway. We do this. You have to be on the live show to be able to win this stuff. All right. Not sure how I'm going to do this. I want to do something different. I want to do something interesting here. We'll see what's going on. There's Dave with the black shirt with the black background. What's going on? Here we go. Oh, I shut it down. That's why. Oh, there we go. Anyhow, so let's see. How can I do this? I want to make this kind of like super awesome. I want someone to win some fish. You know what I mean? Who wants to win some fish? I'm just curious. Who's awake out there? Let's go ahead and go to this picker real quick. So the first thing we do is we find the post. I got to sign in again. All right. Wow. Blows me out. All right. And I've got to do a little housekeeping here from the last live I did. Okay, there we go. And pick there. Refresh posts. Thought it was going to work for a second. Look how crazy my face looks right there. Okay. All right. So this is the post right here. And we're going to pick a winner. And I'm just going to run this through real quick. Whoever shows up is not the actual winner yet because I got to pick the hashtag, but it doesn't allow me to do that until after. So just bear with me. You guys want to hear a drum roll? All right. Come on. So I've produced 208,000 frames on this show today. And we've only lost 1,800 of them. It's good. I don't know what's going on with this software. Oh. User error. All right, here we go. Bear with me, everybody. All right, so let me unclick this person real quick. Okay. hashtag. We're going to pick a hashtag here, and that hashtag is going to be Get Well Ron. There we go. All right, so this is going to be our first winner in our spinner. Spinner, spinner, chicken dinner. This guy, I think, just won. I'm pretty sure he did. James, did you win? James Smith came up. Let me just show you. Let me pull it up here. James, did you win? Text me. I might have to pick someone else. I think he just did. Send Dave to swim with the dolphins. Isn't that some sort of like Italian type of like death threat? Oh gosh, I'm just playing. Hey James, I think you won before. Hey Paul, what's up? I see Paul Weiser on there. We mentioned your tubes earlier, but I want to talk to you about that. Let's see if we can do something real good for that. Get you out there. James, I know you're watching the show, bro. I keep seeing that. Yeah, he just won. So let's pick someone else. Thanks, James, for that. Appreciate you. So we're going to come back here and pick that hashtag again. Hashtag Get Well Ron. And we're going to pick another winner. Abe Chapman, you need to type in here into the chat that you're here, Abe. Mr. Abe Chapman, you will be spinning the wheel. So I need to know. I'm like blown out. Swim with the fishes, that's right. It's the Italian one. You're gonna swim with the fishes. Yeah, fish food. Speaking of fish food, think about trying to make my own flake. Been watching some videos online about making flake. I think, yeah, he said yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and spin for you, buddy, and then we'll come back. We'll see. We'll pick someone else. All right, spin the wheel. Here's the wheel. I don't have anybody to bounce back on, so I'm gonna have to just pick it. But I'm gonna pick this color. I'm right there on my left shoulder. So 15% off that purple one. I'm gonna pick that one, and I'm gonna spin that to my birthday, 6. So right up, down, there we go. Good luck to you, Abe. You have the opportunity here to win some good stuff. A half pound of food. So again, in order to claim these prizes, you need to go through FishTalk Live. You can type star info right now and go through the menu for claim a prize. It's going to take you through a series of questions. It's going to ask you what your address is, what your street address is. So put your street in there, and then it's going to ask you what your city is, and it's going to ask you what your phone number is. All the information that we need. Then it's also going to direct you in order to win prizes on the show. You have to like our show page, and you have to like Ron Cichlid's page. So you'll need to jump through a couple hoops. Let's go ahead and pick someone else. Let's do this fairly quickly. Woo picker. All right, let's see if anybody's still left on. Yeah, I should pick this one. Dave is the boss. Someone put just kidding. Let's go ahead and put in Get Well Ron. Where's that at? Get Well Ron. There it is. All right, so this is our next spinner. And that person is Catherine Walker. Congratulations, Catherine. If my memory serves me correct, I'm not sure if you've ever won. So congratulations. Please light up the chat right now, Catherine, and tell us that you're here. In other words, I'll pick someone else. In that meantime, there is no fish of the week, everybody. I'm looking here. There's no fish of the week. Because I'm going to give you a heads up. Next week we are going to run a raffle and a sale for 4th of July. So just know that that's coming. Catherine Walker, are you still online? I haven't got a message on that. I can't really. Okay, she's here. Awesome. This is for you, Catherine. I'm going to the wheel. Here it is. And then I pull the wheel up. There it is. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to pick something cool. Let's see. I'm going to pick, let's refresh this. All right. So I'm going to try my hardest to win you some fish. I'm going to pick the top. I'm going to pick the yellow, the Sun Power filter on the left, this green, this yellow one here. See that? I'm going to come all the way around to 11. Here we go. Good luck, Catherine. Let's hope this works for you. Some Seachem safe. Awesome. I just got my Seachem safe in the today came in the mail for me too. Just in time. I have like a teaspoon left. All right, congratulations everybody. Let me just it's a great show. I appreciate everybody's on this. Ron is going to be back. He might not be back next week. We may have a guest host. I have a couple people in mind that I've been talking to. But we are going to have another great show next week, regardless. Today we talked about building an African cichlid tank. We talked about the planning stage, how important it is for you to understand the size and the type of fish that you're going to want to do. Buy the biggest that you can, including buy the best light that you can, all of those things. If you can afford the $150 light, get that one rather than the $40 one. You're going to be much happier in the long run, because what's going to end up happening is you'll buy the $40 one, and then 3 months later you're going to want the bigger one. You'll buy the bigger one. So you'll save yourself a lot of time in planning. We talked about all the equipment that you need, some of the chemicals and the stuff that you need to have, substrates, the heater, the light, and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Jersey boy. Just so you know, right in the middle of the show, he's blowing up the thing. So, hey, Jersey boy return or whatever, 21 times you sent me a thumbs up. You're probably going to get banned, bro. Sorry, dude. Just so you know. Thank you so much, everybody. We totally love you. Let's look for on Ron Cichlid page tonight, later, or tomorrow. Look for a good get well post, and let's all say something to him. Not just get well, Ron. Say, hey, Ron, I appreciate you. You're a good person. You affect my life. I like you. Whatever it is, say something cool. Find a killer gif. Do something cool. Super glad that his surgery went well. We appreciate everybody. We're going to be on here next Wednesday. So we'll see you all later. Take care. Remember, after the closing credits, I usually run something as well, too.
I remember the first time I saw a blue whale.
Oh, look. Wow.
I've followed them since childhood.
What do you think it's from? Is it from a ship?
I could see plastic everywhere. We were in what we thought was a relatively pristine environment. I started to wonder what was happening in oceans elsewhere on the planet. Growing up, my world was the ocean. It's where I feel the most spiritual.
As a freediver, it was the place where I proved myself to myself. Finally, have the opportunity to pay the sea back.
Only a fraction of the plastic that we produce is recycled.
This is never going to degrade. It's got nowhere to go.
This was something that these animals, they were forced to endure because it was man-made and we'd put it into their environment.
The record is 276 pieces of plastic inside of one 90-day-old chick.
If the plastics are in the food chain for the dolphin, they're also in our food chain.
Exactly. Communities are built on these landfill sites.
So sweet potatoes, corn, sugarcane, all growing on 40 years of garbage.
Do you have anything not wrapped in plastic?
No.
No.
We have to make our life better for our kids' children.
Change is possible. It starts with us.